Hello audio geeks and welcome, and today it's time to talk about a piece of software that audiophiles seemingly can't get enough of. It promises to provide the best all-round digital music experience regardless of whether you're listening to your own files offline or streaming music through Qobuz or Tidal. But it isn't cheap, costing more than a monthly subscription, for example, to Apple Music or Spotify, and that's before you factor in the cost of the music itself. That software is Roon, and today we'll take a look at whether it really can be all things to all audiophiles. Okay, so disclaimer, I've been a Roon user for a couple of years and I pay for the subscription myself, no freebies here. Many of you may already be using Roon and some of you would have undoubtedly heard of it, but you may not be sure what it is and what it does. So, put simply, Roon is like a Swiss Army knife for organising and playing digital music at home. It's kind of like the equivalent of an all-in-one hi-fi box, if you like, rather than separates. So, what does it actually do? Number one, it allows you to organise and tie together all your offline music files. Number two, it provides a rich metadata resource presenting loads of information including reviews, album art, artist bios. Number three, it offers integration of your library with Tidal or Qobuz if you subscribe to one of those, and presents them in a seamless way with your offline files, as we'll see. Number four, it has smart algorithmic features to link together music from your own collection, and if you subscribe to a streaming service, it provides a recommendation engine from outside your library that's usually scarily spot on. Number five, it offers high quality lossless playback of music files across multiple devices attached to your home network. Number six, it offers slick control of all the functionality through free apps that you can download onto your phone, tablet or laptop. Number seven, it has the ability to apply advanced digital signal processing, DSP if you like, to each individual audio zone. That's a huge amount of functionality, isn't it? But what do you actually need to get going with Roon, apart from the software itself, of course, which is now on version 1.8? Well, firstly, you need a central hub from which the software runs, and this is called the Roon core. Now, you can only have one active Roon core at any one time, and it is, in essence, the brains of the operation and acts as the music server. Now, most people will use their Windows PC, Mac or Linux box as the core, but you can also configure some network-attached storage NAS drives to run it. I think models from Synology, for example, are supported. You can even, for an eye-watering $1,400, there or thereabouts, buy a Roon Nucleus, which is a premium hardware box running a custom Roon Linux OS, and it's sold by Roon itself, obviously customized to give you the best experience. My Roon core, one that I'd heartily recommend, is the M1 Mac Mini from last year, which I think is an absolute bargain at $699 or pounds for the base model. It's tiny, it looks good, it's relatively silent, it does have fans but they rarely kick in and they're hardly audible. And yes, you can use it as a computer for all your other work too. Once you've downloaded the appropriate Roon software package, installing it on the core is really easy, and once it's up and running, it's time to feed it some music. Now, you can do this in a number of ways. As you know, I've got a huge library of FLAC files, predominantly ripped from my extensive CD collection, which is just over there. I'll show you it when I do the behind the scenes video. And it's all been ripped onto an external hard drive, which I just hook up to my Mac Mini. And from there, all you have to do is point the Roon software to the folder to catalogue it. Now, Roon has unparalleled organisational abilities. It quickly rifles through your entire library and automatically tags all your music with the appropriate metadata. But, and this is the absolute key bit, it doesn't alter the file names or move music around like other software does. I'm looking at you, iTunes. It'll download album art and much more besides, and it's usually pretty accurate, but fear not. If you're not happy with the metadata that Roon has dug up, you can easily change it yourself, no sweat. At this point, you can also link your Tidal or Qobuz subscriptions if you have them, and Roon will integrate the libraries you have on those streaming services with your offline music. So that's great. You've got your core set up, you've got your music all fed into the program. Now it's time to turn your attention to the actual playback devices. Now you can in many cases use the core itself as a playback device. So for example, my Mac Mini is hooked up to a nice pair of Edifier desktop monitors, and I can select these as the audio zone in Roon and start playback directly. Now Roon plays nicely with a huge number of networked audio players and DACs. Fully compatible devices are labelled Roon Ready, and this means that they support the Roon Advanced Audio Transport, which is Roon's highest quality streaming audio solution, allowing lossless and bit perfect, you know I'm obsessed with bit perfection, audio streaming across your home network. So, for example, I've got my iFi ZenStream hooked up to the ZenDAC V2, and it streams beautifully using the RAAT protocol, as can be seen if you check out the signal path information. That's so useful, by the way. It just shows you all the steps taken by the audio from source to playback, so you'll know pretty quickly if something's bit perfect or not. Now if you check out the Roon website, you'll find a huge list of hardware devices which have been certified as Roon Ready, and you can buy one of those and be confident that you're going to get the best experience with Roon. However, there are plenty of other devices to which Roon can stream, but not by using the RAAT, but using Chromecast or AirPlay protocols. And these devices are slightly differently labelled. They're certified Roon tested rather than Roon Ready. Here, the audio quality is constrained by the technical limitations of the AirPlay or Chromecast protocols. Now it's possible to have very many endpoints. These audio zones are called endpoints. It's possible to have many of these playing different streams simultaneously, or you can link them together and synchronize playback. The number of endpoints you can stream to at any one time is only limited by the processing power of your Roon core. Now remember, you don't have to buy an expensive piece of hi-fi equipment to act as your Roon endpoint. You can easily configure, for example, a cheap Raspberry Pi to act as one and hook it up to your existing equipment. And watch out, I'll be showing you how to build a quick Roon endpoint from a Raspberry Pi type machine in an upcoming video. If you really want to keep it basic, you can even just hook up your phone or iPad up to a DAC if you've got one and use that as your Roon endpoint. It works really well. Now, ease of control is another key differentiator of Roon, and you can control all this playback magic using the Roon Remote software, downloaded onto a mobile device if you want to be free from the core itself. In my case, I've got it running on my iPad Pro, which I think is one of the best ways of enjoying the Roon experience because of the big screen, rich interface, all that. As you can see, the Roon interface itself is very simple. I can select my audio device or zone if you like, explore my library and control playback really easily. When the music's playing, I can browse information about the artist and album. I can see similar music from my own collection, as well as similar items from streaming services. I can look at album art, I can see lyrics. All this goes a huge long way to addressing the main criticism of digital audio, namely the lack of rich sensory experience you get with physical formats, especially vinyl of course. It's just so hard to explain, but for me, Roon has totally changed the way I listen to digital music, and it's a most fulfilling way of enjoying my music library. If you factor in Qobuz or Tidal integration, it becomes a fantastic way to discover high quality new music too, a bit like Spotify's discovery engine. Now you can browse your music library in the conventional way, like flicking through CDs on your rack, or you can also let Roon offer up some suggestions on the home screen. Best of all, and one of Roon's hallmark features, is the Discover tab, which presents your music in new and interesting ways. Even if you don't subscribe to streaming services, it finds interesting links between artists and albums and highlights various kind of otherwise unknown bits of your music library. It really is fantastically clever and had me listening to stuff from my CD collection which I hadn't heard for years. Now if you're technically minded and know what you're doing, Roon offers incredibly powerful tools to apply digital signal processing to your audio on a zone-by-zone basis. Now these include things like parametric EQ, speaker correction, upsampling and convolution, which allows you to easily apply pre-configured room correction. I myself haven't quite got into all the intricacies there. There are brilliant YouTube videos showing you how to do it all. Now I find the quality of streaming audio across my Google Home mesh network to be very stable, and I live in an old 3-story house, and generally I get no dropouts or audio glitches, which is seriously impressive. Even in the upstairs attic room, which is well distant from the primary router, the audio experience is excellent, which is just as well because this is my kind of cave, if you like, my listening room. The Roon core software itself running on the Mac Mini has been extremely stable, and the Roon remote software is excellent regardless of whether it's running on my iPhone, my Mac, my iPad or even my Android phone. So, Roon has without a doubt revolutionised my personal digital music listening and made it a much more enjoyable experience. The real genius of Roon is that it manages to wrap up all that complex functionality into a, very slick and user-friendly experience. Roon isn't perfect though, and I can think of a few improvements. Firstly, the Android app doesn't bypass the Android sample rate conversion trap, meaning that if you are using your phone as your Roon endpoint, your Android phone, regardless of the file sample rate that you're streaming, you'll only get 48 kHz playback, which is irritating. Secondly, Roon only works within your home network, and it isn't possible, for example, to offline files onto your phone for playback when you're out and about, like you can, for example, with Plex. That's a brilliant feature of Plex. Maybe I'll do a video on that in the future. And then we come to the biggest barrier for most people, the cost. Now Roon is certainly not cheap, although you have several options. You can opt for monthly or annual subscriptions, which here in the UK works out to about £100 a year. Or if you're feeling particularly flush, you can bet the farm on Roon with a one-off lifetime payment of $600. Now that's an awful lot to pay, isn't it, for a software service which comes with no music of its own whatsoever. I would argue that for the huge range of features that Roon wraps up, it actually represents fairly good value. Let's face it, many audiophiles wouldn't bat an eyelid at spending a couple of £1,000s on a new amp, which perhaps only improves the audio experience by about 10% over their existing equipment. And for me personally, £100 a year is well worth it for the joy of something that enhances my musical listening experience by, I would say, much more than 50%. Now, if you're not ready to take the plunge, Roon does offer a fully functional, 2-week, no strings attached trial of the software. But I've got one piece of advice for you, and this is really important. Do not download it if you are not in a position to go on and sign up to the service, because once you've experienced it, even for a couple of weeks, there is little else that can compare to Roon. I think the people that benefit most from Roon are those with large offline collections, as well as those with a subscription to Tidal or Qobuz. I hope that served as a decent introduction to Roon, and why I for one absolutely love it. Thanks for watching as always. It's great to have your comments. Please feel free to drop them in the comment section down below. Stay safe everyone, I'll see you next time.